Hi, it's Amory, and I'm here to announce the May selection for Amory's book club, which is Deacon King Kong by James McBride, which I read via ebook. The story takes place in the cause housing projects in New York City in 1969, and you're following a large cast of characters. The main character is Sportcoat, aka Deacon King Kong, who ends up shooting in the face Deems, who is a notorious drug dealer, the most feared drug dealer around. Sportcoat has done lots of things. So besides being a deacon, besides being a part-time / full-time drunk, he's also really great with gardening, and he also used to coach Deems in baseball. He ends up shooting him. This is not a spoiler. This is actually the premise of the story. What we're finding out is why this happened, like how this came about, and also how all the characters who are involved, who live in the cause houses, and also like in the areas around the cause houses, who are part of the Five Ends Baptist Church, because the church community plays a really big part of the story as well. One of the things that really surprised me is how funny the story is. I wasn't expecting a lot of humor because the premise sounds so dark. And regarding that, I was also surprised that the violence was not so visceral. I appreciated, especially now that the violence wasn't gratuitous in any way. Thematically, the story covers a lot. There's faith, friendship, long-term marriage, the Black migration, the differences between the South and the North regarding racism, community, as well as the perils of being a young Black man growing up while Black, and how it's so easy to have to choose so often between survival and one's dreams, as well as how easy it is to be destroyed and or lost. There's also a slightly fantastical element to the story regarding these great ants, like these huge ants, and then we find out what they do, where they've come from overseas. There is a tinge of the fantastical in there, which brings us back to the humor in the novel. The humor is in both the narration as well as the dialogue. Like, the dialogue is really funny. There are several moments of dialogue which I read out loud because it's hilarious to me. Like, I could totally hear it and see it. It's so clear, so vivid, and all of the characters are vivid. I mean, you have names like Sportcoat / Deacon King Kong, Hot Sausage, Light Bulb. Like, almost everyone has these really funny nicknames. Even though the story has such a violent premise, even though the story deals with a lot of serious themes, there is even a hint of child abuse. None of that is shown as totally off the page, but it's just knowing about someone's backstory. It's done in a way that's very warm, that's very empathetic, and also not gratuitous. I felt like this book really brought to you the lives of Black folk in a way that was very serious but not depressing, and that's key, because you know when you're reading a book and you just don't want, especially in light of what's happening right now and what happens always, actually, what's always happened, unfortunately, and continues to happen. Sometimes it's the last subject. You just don't want to read about Black pain when you're already experiencing Black pain and when you're already witnessing Black pain. That's the truth of it. But this was done in a way that maintained humor and respect and didn't feel in any way voyeuristic, but it's told in a very subtle but very true way. And I loved it. So make sure you guys check out the book, James McBride's Deacon King Kong. It is the May selection, and we are going to be talking with Mr. McBride at the end of the month. Super excited about that. Make sure you guys bring your questions. As always, follow along at my Instagram at Amory or at Amory's Book Club, as well as the hashtags Read with Amory, Amory's Book Club, ABC. I'll see you guys on IG. Side note, you may or may not be able to see this, but I'm growing out the brows. I just really wanted to just grow them all out. And we're getting to the point now where, you know, in the beginning where you're like, no one's gonna notice. Now we're at the point where it's very noticeable, but you can't do anything about it because then you will be defeating the purpose of what you're trying to do. So we don't know how this is gonna be looking a month from now. I just wanted to let you know what's going on.